Guys, this holiday season, how about giving your wife or girlfriend something totally different? Something romantic that celebrates the unique connection between you and her. I'm talking about a luxury gift service called Enclosed that delivers designer lingerie to your lady month after month. Enclosed is like a flower of the month or a beer of the month, but instead of flowers, she gets surprised with ultra high-end lingerie. And this is seriously high-end stuff, the kind of quality that will really impress your lady. Enclosed was designed specifically to help guys find gifts for their wives. Enclosed is all about helping you make her happy, and Enclosed is effortless for you. Every month Enclosed sends your wife or girlfriend a custom curated lingerie gift selected just for your lady, and they back the gift up with a 100% size guarantee, so you never have to worry about fit. You can join more than 30,000 couples that love Enclosed, and I'll give you a little gift. Right now you can get $35 off your Enclosed gift. Just go to enclosedlingerie.com, enter the code MANU at checkout to get $35 off any Enclosed multi-month gift. Why not give your wife something that really reflects and deepens the connection between the two of you? Something that you would never give your mother. That's enclosedlingerie.com with the code MANU for $35 off the best gift ever.
The shout now. Well done, Bobby Charlton. Well done, Manchester United.
It's a Sheringham, and Solskjaer has won it! Radisson saved it! United again! Renee!
Good evening and welcome to United Hour, your official Red Cafe podcast for all things Manchester United. I'm your host Ed.
And I'm Ashwin.
And obviously tonight it is my first time hosting, so if I'm absolutely terrible you can blame Nick and Alex for being ill. And yeah, we've had a few people drop out, but we wanted to get a pod out before the Liverpool game. So
only a couple of us are ready to rush back from injury for the team.
Yeah. You know, it was a 4-1 win, so Imran's not interested. What were your thoughts on it?
I was happy that we actually had a routine victory in which we were very comfortable for almost all of it. Yeah, it was good. I wish we had done that. If we had just been able to perform against lower level sides like that consistently this season, we would be right in the thick of the top four race, and maybe even just outside of pushing for the title. So, I mean, I get it's a good thing, but I need to see so much more than a 4-1 victory over Fulham.
I can agree with that. A lot of people are making out that it's only Fulham, but in the past we've said, you can only beat what's put in front of you. And regardless of how bad Fulham were, I thought we played really well. You know, we were looking to get forwards most of the game, which is something different to what we've been used to perhaps recently.
Mata, beautiful. 3-0. Smiles from Romelu Lukaku, but the build-up was very special indeed. And this has been Manchester United's best home performance of the season so far. Ashwin has a go. Oh, what a hit. He deserves it for his afternoon's work. Big win for United this. Very, very comfortable for Manchester United. Back to winning ways after 3 consecutive Premier League draws.
I mean, it was really good to see. I was really happy for Rashford, actually, because he had been playing well in the previous couple of matches we've had, but the team results were not there against Arsenal and then against, obviously, the infamous Southampton match. But I thought he had actually performed quite well in both of those matches, and I was happy for him to finally get on the score sheet after providing for others. It's nice for him to finally get on there himself.
Yeah, what a goal as well. It was really good.
Yeah.
The much-bemoaned Lukaku also got a goal from open play. So do you think this is the start of a run of goals for the both of them?
I am way more convinced it's the start of a good run for Rashford. Maybe I still don't trust him to be a consistent goal scorer, but he's making a difference right now in improving our overall attacking play. He's contributing assists. He's providing chances.
Yeah.
He's running at defense. You can see his confidence is back because he's taking men on. And the biggest thing I've noticed in this little 3-match stretch he's had is his hold-up play when he receives the ball with his back to goal has actually gotten a lot better. Or it's been a lot better. I don't know if this is just a hot streak he's having, but it has been better in these matches, and that was always one of my really big I don't want to say it was just something that I was always kind of been critical of him for, because I think any striker, no matter what kind of striker you are, you can't just run into channels. You can't just be good at running into space. There are going to be times you need to, hold the ball up, bring others into play, just hold possession for your team for a while. And he's done that pretty effectively. So that, in combination with obviously the goals he's the chances he's providing for others, and he's just finding himself in these areas constantly now, in these dangerous areas. So you figure if he keeps doing that, odds are goals will come, assists will come, and good things will come of it. So I'm a little bit more convinced that it might be the start of a good run for him, especially because he's been doing it now for 3 straight matches. Whereas with Lukaku, I mean, the overall performances aren't there enough for me to believe that the goals are just going to come now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a bit of a consensus from the guys on the pod that Lukaku's perhaps not our favourite striker at the moment. I mean, I feel some sympathy for him because I feel as though he's not really been getting the service that he deserves. I mean, granted, he's not been putting in the shift to get the passes either, but when you've got players like Matic just not playing the pass, I can understand why Lukaku sort of stopped running.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the lack of running into the channels and trying to play off the shoulder that bothers me as much as just nothing he's done has been good. Like, his hold-up play has been awful with his back to goal. He's missed God knows how many chances within the box. Forget, he's not beating players when he gets a chance to run at them, which is that's probably my biggest concern, because I think that I remember him at Everton. I still remember that match they had against, I think it was City, and he just destroyed them playing on the right. Absolutely destroyed them. And I've seen him do that for Belgium too. And it just has not happened for him at United. I just haven't seen that nearly as much as I would like to for the striker, for the player he is, and for his size and his pace. Because when he gets going, there should be no stopping him. And I've seen that. I've seen that actually happen where he gets going over the summer for Belgium. He was so good at the World Cup in stretches running at defenders. And then, at United, I don't know, it always feels like when I'm watching him that he's trying to prove, it always feels like he's trying to prove how technically, like when he gets the ball, right? There's so many times where he can just quickly make a layoff and then he should spin in behind.
Yeah.
But it's always like he always has to take this extra touch and try and play some cross-field pass. And it's like, it's almost as if every time he's out there, he's trying to prove that all the criticisms of him are not right. And it's like, I would prefer he just stop doing that shit and just be who you are. Because you have to be the best version of yourself, right? You can't be something that you're not. No one would ask, Berbatov to play like Lukaku or something, right? Like, we wouldn't ask him to run the channels and run at defenders, and it just wouldn't do that. But, and some of that is on Mourinho too, right? Like, he's also forced him into this target man role, and that's not the best role for him. But I do think that there's not enough coming from him for me to just say it's like with Martial, like right now this year in the form he's in, I can maybe look at that and say more like, okay, well, maybe he would score more or create more if we used him in a different manner under a different manager, whatever. Okay, like that, I can give you the benefit of the doubt. And even last year with Lukaku, I would have given him that benefit of the doubt. But this season, he has not done enough for me to make that argument for him, and it just wouldn't feel right making that argument for him.
No, I can certainly see where you're coming from. I think he sort of did enough last season to sort of deserve a bit of that benefit of the doubt, if I'm honest. But what do you make of the recent comments about his size? Well, I think Gary Neville have been saying that didn't Lukaku himself say he came after the World Cup carrying a bit too much weight?
Yeah, I mean, he said that it's not that he was overweight. It was that I guess somebody in the Belgium staff told him to put on weight, and then so he was like lifting a lot. I guess he added muscle.
Yeah.
And then when he showed up at United, he was bigger than he had been. And I mean, look, if that's true, okay. Well, I'm happy that we have figured out what the problem is, and hopefully he has, become more. He's doing more, less vigorous weight exercises and more cardio. But what's more concerning to me is if that was the case at the start of the season, at Manchester United, this is a club, maybe like arguably the richest club in the world, definitely one of the top 3 richest clubs in the world, probably paying medical staff, training staff, management, millions, billions, millions upon millions, right? How are we in December? So we're about 4 months into the season now, mid-December. So about 4 months into the season, and only now is this revelation coming upon us. And I mean, look, I understand that maybe they did realize this earlier in the season, but it's even more concerning then because if Mourinho knew that and he was still putting him out there, that's it just speaks to another check mark against Mourinho, against his management of this team, because he has options at striker. He has had options at striker all of the season, even now with Alexis injured, But before Alexis was injured, you could play Alexis through the middle, you could play Martial through the middle, play Rashford through the middle if you didn't want to play Lukaku. So you have 3 legitimate options to play through the middle without Lukaku being, 100%.
I mean, he was all but freezing Martial out at the start of the season, wasn't he? So it's just hard to find any logic in his selections sometimes.
Kamara against David De Gea. Kamara, hope for Fulham. He won the penalty, he scored the penalty, 3-1.
What did you make of the penalty?
That was not a penalty.
Really?
The Herrera challenge?
Yeah, you didn't think it was a penalty?
No, absolutely not. I think he got the ball and then he got the player. Look, did I think it was like the worst call? I didn't think it was a terrible call. I didn't think it was. I mean, when I actually watched it without the replay right off the bat, I just assumed that was a penalty. So I didn't. Like I said, I don't think it was. I'm not going to sit here and complain about that call that much, but I didn't think it was a penalty. I thought that he did graze him before he got the ball, but not nearly enough for him to go down. And I don't think he even went down until Herrera took the ball.
See,
and then he saw the chance was gone, and then he's like, then he falls over.
I'm of the opinion that if you take the man to get the ball, regardless of when you get the ball, if the man has to go down, then it's a foul, because you've gone in too hard. And if you're having if another player is having to adjust their movement for the way you've gone in, it's got to be a free kick. Well, perhaps not got to be a free kick or got to be a penalty kick, but I think it should be weighted towards the attacker as opposed to the defender. And I know it's a contact sport, but
I think the contact has to be actually putting, like, I don't think the contact put him off. I think he was trying to draw the penalty.
Yeah.
And I think I did not see that challenge as one that was, I didn't see it. I don't see how that's a penalty. But I mean, it's a very subjective law at this point. It's not like an objective thing, so it's very hard to say for sure. But I mean, he also gave out a fairly ridiculous red card after that. So I guess he made it up. I don't know. I did not think that entire sequence of events reflected well upon him. And I think in general he just wasn't very good. But we were so dominating in the first half that it didn't. His performance literally had no impact on the match at that point, because it was done. It was done after 45 minutes.
Yeah. So was it Lukaku's goal that was offside by Mata, or was it?
Was Lukaku was offside?
No, well, I think Mata was offside when the ball was played in, and because
there was that set piece routine.
Yeah,
right?
And Mata played it across. I mean, as much of a muchness, really. I think we'd have got that third goal and fourth goal regardless of whether it was offside or not. But
that definitely the third one. I thought we were just. I mean, we created so many chances. Herrera missed a pretty easy opportunity as well. That would have put us up 4-0. But yeah, Mata was great.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I just wish it's hard watching him be good, because I would just wish we had a manager. I wish we hadn't wasted some of his prime years, because I think we just played some of the worst football possible for his kind of style and technique, and everything he does fits in. I can imagine that if he played for City, Pep would use him.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Matt is probably one of my favourite players at the club at the moment. he's just so intelligent on and off the ball, and he's got the technique to execute what he wants to do. It's just a shame that he sort of lacks the pace to perhaps keep him in the team for Mourinho. I think that's probably his only downfall.
But he's actually played a lot more this year than he has previously for Mourinho, it seems like, anyway. It felt like he played through the middle much more in this match than he... Yeah, and I think Lingard was the token right side player who doesn't actually play on the right, that we only have in the squad. And then, I really liked... The biggest thing I really liked was... I mean, Mata isn't a great defender, but he gives effort. So, like, if everybody else is pressing and he's your weakest link pressing, that's an okay situation.
Oh, yeah.
Like you, and with Rashford pressing, Rashford is good at pressing. Lingard is good at pressing. Even Martial, I thought, has been a lot better at pressing, although he didn't play, so that wasn't that much of an issue there. Oh, and then Herrera. So, like, with those three, Herrera, he was fantastic. Just wish I wish Mourinho would look at the team. It's just so obvious to me our team has these players that are so much more suited to press higher up.
I agree.
Almost generally, all the players we have are more suited to that than to sit back and play just on the counter solely.
I suppose that brings us on to our comments from our glorious leader regarding Fred. He was saying he can't play Fred because the team lacks defensive balance, which I believe is something he said last season. And then earlier this season, he said we were throwing that out of the window to try and attack more. But now it seems to be rearing its ugly head again. What do you think about that?
Well, we have to operate under the assumption that Matic will always play.
Oh, well, you see, that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go on.
If he's always going to play, then it's impossible to know, because I don't even know what Mourinho thinks our best formation is at this point, because he doesn't know. It's obvious he doesn't know, because we constantly change the lineup, and it's not like we keep the same shape. It's that we alter the shape so often too. So then I have no clue what we're doing. But I don't really buy that as a reason. I wish he would just come out and say that Fred needs some time to adapt, and that's the time he's giving him, because that to me is a legitimate, it's not an excuse, that's a legitimate reason, and a lot of players do need time to adapt to the Premier League before they kick on. But it's hard to understand how. I mean, there's so many players that we have that have been weak defensively. It's hard to understand why Fred specifically cannot play for this reason.
I think Fred has played particularly well. If you consider that he's come from what is a bit of a nothing league into the Premier League, I think he's adapted to the pace quite well. I think he's put in fairly decent performances, since coming to the club. And secondly, I think, how can you say the team lacks defensive balance when, you're playing a young central midfielder in defence or another midfielder in defence? Surely the lack of defensive balance is coming from the manager and not the players.
The only thing I would say though is I think the reasoning which he didn't say, but is kind of the underlying. If you kind of look at everything he's talked about this week and I think it's about Pogba, right? Because I just don't think he trusts. Because Fred is going to go chasing the ball a little bit, right? It's like Herrera. They both go at times to chase the ball. And Herrera is a bit more disciplined in that he will press, but it does seem more disciplined.
Yeah. Well, he knows when to press and when to keep position.
Yeah, right. It's generally speaking. I mean, there are times obviously he still gets caught out, but I do think he has a better understanding of when to go. Whereas Fred does seem a little bit more rash and more of a ball chaser than someone that's just a pure tackler. I think he makes tackles, but it's because he's kind of running around and doing stuff. And I do understand why you might be hesitant to play him with Pogba if you don't trust either of them in their defensive roles. But I just don't care, because you bought him. He bought Fred, and at some point you have to take risk. But you can't buy a player and then say, "Well, I didn't play him because the side that I have built is not good enough defensively, so I don't." That's just a bullshit reason. That's just it's nonsensical, and it's insulting. It just makes no sense.
I think for me the problem is that we the best way to defend is to attack, and when you've got a player like Fred and a player like Herrera and even Pogba in the same midfield, in my opinion, I think that's probably a stronger midfield than one that has Matic in. It may be a little bit more susceptible to the counter, but when you've got players like Rashford, Martial, Sanchez, in fact, they all like to press. They all like to get up and, harry the defenders. I suppose you do need that defensive midfielder, but you don't need it, say, as much as if you were trying to sit back the entire time.
Yeah.
So if you're winning the ball higher up the pitch, the risk is diminished.
He even mentioned this at the start of the season, that the reason he liked Pereira and the reason he bought Fred is that they brought qualities to the team that we lacked. And if you watch those two play, like, it's obvious what those qualities are. They are very comfortable and happy to receive the ball in tight areas. They're happy to play quick through the middle. They're happy to make expansive passes instead of just playing, simple and one pass away type football. They're happy to bypass making a simple pass to a midfielder to play to release an attacking player further forward. So those are obvious. Those are the qualities. And if you look at Pereira and you look at Fred, they both press. Like, they're both naturally better defensively at pressing. And okay, fine, whatever. Pereira hasn't played, and maybe there's a good reason for that. Maybe we're just overrating him because he's a young player that came through the youth academy. So I don't even want to get into him right now. But with Fred, when you buy a player for that much money, you must have some understanding of how they play. And, he clearly did because he talked about it. So then to come out and say that, well, we can't play him because we're not defensively solid enough. Well, then, figure it out, man, because what you're trying to do to make us defensively solid is not working.
Well, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So you just got to, it's crazy to me that we're still, I can't believe we've not tried just to play Herrera as the DM.
No, I know.
With Pogba and Fred. I'm not saying that. I don't know if that would work. None of us know anything for sure. But I do know that it should have been tried for sure by now.
You see, I think back to when we were playing Fellaini in that transitional role with three at the back.
I like that.
I just don't understand why that seems to have disappeared, because we looked to be playing some decent attacking football where we'd sort of move the ball up the pitch quite quickly and with purpose, and that it seems as though that was done for a couple of games and then completely forgotten about.
Well, I think didn't Fellaini get hurt, and I think Fellaini got hurt, and then he went back to Matic because Matic came back healthy, and then he's just never dropped Matic again. So I agree with you, because I think I would like to see Fellaini in that role too, because to me, I think Fellaini has been one of our better players this season, and that's not a great situation for United, for the ambitions the club has, but it is a reality of just what has transpired this season. So, again, I've always said that, I think Fellaini isn't anything. I don't think he's an amazing player, but he has qualities that you can use, and one of those qualities is that he keeps it simple. When he gets the ball in that role, he doesn't slow your play down, which is what Matic does, which is really frustrating. And it is nice that, to be fair, Matic is actually good at times in getting out of tight spaces, and I like that he's willing to do that. But there are so many times where he just takes so many, 4 or 5 extra touches to play the simple pass that was always the only pass he had available to him anyway. And that is really frustrating. And it slows us down. It allows them to get back into their shape better. It's just... It's frustrating. I think Fellaini should have stayed there. I think Herrera should at least be given a chance to play there. Why those things haven't happened and Matic just continues to play in that role is...
I think we know why, but I think it's been discussed to death by now.
Yeah.
Maybe we feel frustrated with the result. We feel frustrated with some mistakes. We feel frustrated with some moments where a little bit more quality would be needed. But we have to be happy with the spirit. We have to be happy with the effort, the dynamic, the intensity, the understanding of our difficulties, the changes we made in the team to try to be the more compact possible. And the team as a team had a very good response, has had a big soul. We scored 4 goals and we drew 2-2.
I'm torn on this game, so I don't know. Was it a good result? Was it a bad result? Was it a good result in the context of the game, or was it just a bad result because we needed to win? Really, what do you reckon?
I think the result was fine. I don't actually have a problem with the result. I think you draw to Arsenal at home the way they're playing right now in good form. That's fine. It's not a good result. It's not an awful result. It's just it happened.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal to me. But what's frustrating is, and I think even in our WhatsApp group, I messaged that I thought it was a good performance. But what's frustrating to me about that is that if we had just performed like that consistently week in, week out, and I'm not even talking about in terms of the actual quality of play in terms of what we did in possession, but just with the same purpose and the same energy and effort and fight and just actually
bothering to turn up.
Yeah, if we just did that the entire season, we would comfortably be in 4th place right now. Because actually, like, aside from the City match, in the quote unquote big matches, I think we've performed well. Like against Tottenham, yeah, we lost 3-0, but I actually thought the performance, and I know that Mourinho went a little over the top after that match, praising the performance, but it was a good performance. Like they actually did try to create in that match. And if Lukaku puts away an open net or a wide open goal, maybe we're talking about a completely different match here. But obviously that didn't happen. Anyway, I just think that our performances in terms of what we've tried to do and actually trying to create. Against Chelsea, yeah, we had a bad first half, but I didn't think it was a bad first half because our approach was negative. I just thought that we just played very poorly. But then we could have obviously gone on to win that match. And to be quite honest, I didn't think Chelsea performed. I didn't think they outplayed us in the first half, but they didn't actually create a whole lot in that match either. So, I just think our performances in big matches, we show up in these matches, right? It seems that we show up in these matches, but then, against West Ham, we don't do anything. Against Southampton, we don't turn up until we're down 2-0. Against Newcastle, again, we got the 3 points, but you fall behind 2-0. It's just that when that consistently happens, there's something wrong with the mentality going into these matches, and when it happens this much, it really should have cost the manager his job by now, I think.
Probably should have. I mean, for the Arsenal game, I don't know. I can't tell whether it was a good result or not because I don't think we needed to win the game really, and I personally think this Arsenal team can concede goals, and I think we saw they concede goals. We scored 2 against them, and there were 2 pretty good goals really.
And our mistakes for both their goals were so absurd.
Absolutely, exactly. Our defense. Well, I mean, De Gea's sort of parry catch thing that just sort of cushioned it into his own goal. I can forgive that because it's just a bad day at the office, And
he saved us even late in that match. He stopped Lacazette 1v1.
Absolutely, exactly. But the defending for the second Arsenal goal.
Lacazette, Mkhitaryan, it's Lacazette. Rocco got back, but it's found its way in. It's going to go down as an own goal. The initial error from Marcus Rojo, and what a bizarre way for Arsenal to go back ahead at Old Trafford. Manchester United 1. Arsenal 2. When you looks in.
It was actually a hell of a recovery to give him a little bit of credit, I guess, for Rojo. But I mean, you can't really defend any of that.
But someone should be tracking that run anyway. Even if he's lost the ball, fine. But there should be someone.
I think that was Smalling, right?
Smalling or Bay, I think possibly. I'm not too sure. One of the two.
I think it was Smalling because I think Smalling was playing through the middle, right? And so when Rojo is... Yeah, I mean, either way, Rojo shouldn't be the one making that challenge. It should either be Bailly or Smalling.
Exactly.
Tracking runners has been a major issue for us all season. Even last year was a problem, but since De Gea had the season of all seasons for a keeper, it didn't matter. Or it didn't cost us top 4, at least. I shouldn't say it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But... I mean, this season it's been as bad, if not worse, and maybe it is because we're trying to play more attacking. And I mean, I think there is some truth to that, but it's not. I mean, it doesn't make any sense why we should be totally incapable of tracking runners. And of course, in this case, it was Bailly or Smalling maybe, but I mean, the worst offenders has been Matic. I just Matic and to be honest, like Pogba has been bad at it too. But we always knew that about Pogba. He's not like he's going to turn off at times, and that it's still such an issue is frustrating, especially because again, Matic he keeps staying in the side, and he's one of the worst defenders.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just don't know. I don't. It's symptomatic of well, not symptomatic, emblematic of our defense this entire season. Really, we've conceded so many silly goals for what seems to be no reason, just because it seems as though our defenders don't have their heads in the game.
Yeah, it's anytime the ball gets into a wide area, if we cannot cut out the cross and the cross actually comes in, it always feels like it's just a complete disaster in our box. And sometimes we get it clear, sometimes we don't. But it's like always set pieces and always these balls. Like anybody that runs into the channel gets a ball. It's just crazy to me how easy it is to pull. It always like for us to create those same opportunities seems like it's such a chore.
Yeah.
And for other teams, it seems like it's a very, very basic thing that they're able to do. That it's happening so often, to me, suggests that it's not. Yeah, I mean, some of it is definitely about personnel, but it also suggests some of it is tactical and about coaching, and it falls on Mourinho. Like, I don't blame him for that Rojo goal, right? Like, there's
No.
how you can't manage that. You can't account for that, and there's nothing you can do. And even the De Gea goal, like you can say that we should have defended better. There should have never been a shot that came in, but ultimately it was a shot that should have been saved. Even De Gea, I'm sure would if you asked him would tell you that as much. His reaction said it all, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
he knew.
And so like it's very hard for me to blame him too much for the result of that match because those goals were not his fault.
Yeah,
and we did have a go, and we were undermanned, and he did have to play, and at least this time he played three defenders. If he went to that 5-man back line, he did at least play three defenders there, three proper center halves in the middle. I like that he gave Dalot a shot at the right back, and then he kept him in over the weekend against Fulham. I know obviously his hand was forced to an extent, but we've also seen that even when his hand is forced, he doesn't always play the natural player at that position if he has an older player to play there. And I will say this because he's been such a whipping boy for United fans. I thought Darmian was really good in that match, like really, really good in that match. It was shocking.
Yeah. No, I can get behind that. I think I can't think of many mistakes. He got himself forwards. He tracked his men.
Yeah, I've always felt that he always plays much better as a wingback than as a fullback.
Yeah,
I've always thought that.
Yeah,
because even with Italy, like his performances with Italy, he always looked better, right, playing for Italy. And like when he was playing, it was always in that wing. It was always as a wingback, not as a fullback. And I think at Torino, even before he came to United, he was playing as a wingback and not a pure fullback. So maybe there is something to that. And it would make sense because Van Gaal did originally want to play that 3-5-2, right, and not a 4-man back line.
Yeah. So you mentioned Dalot. He's featured in the both the previous games, Fulham and Arsenal. I thought he played quite well. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought he was really good against. I thought he was great against Fulham. I thought he had a little trial by fire against Arsenal, and that's fine. Like he's a 19-year-old making a first league start in a team that's low on confidence against a team that is in great form. And yeah, I mean, Kolasinac is a really good attacking fullback, and I think that he was always going to have a tough time. But it's funny because he did have a tough time, but he actually got behind Kolasinac quite a bit as well, and his crossing was really bad that day. But on another day, he might have gotten a little bit more credit for that aspect of his game. But what I'm noticing with him is he is giving us, for the first time all season, proper natural width on the right.
Yeah.
Like proper width
definitely.
on the right. He's constantly a threat, and I can't say this for sure, but it does seem as if the players in the squad have a lot of trust in him because they're always looking for him in that pass. And obviously I know it's because it's there, but it does say something that he has been such an outlet in these two matches, and that he keeps getting the ball in these forward areas. So I hope that he can keep that position. I hope that we get to see him and Shaw together at some point.
Well, I thought his crossing against Fulham was quite good, and like you say, he was often sort of quite far forwards. The pass was often there for him to make, and he's got quite a lot of pace, hasn't he?
He's strong too.
Yeah.
Like there was one cross he put in where he beat his man. He beat the left back 1v1.
Yeah.
And then he whipped in a cross, and I think whoever their keeper is deflected it away, but it was basically just it would have been a tap in for Lukaku. It was like right there. All he had to do was touch it, but the goalie did really well to get it away. But he had a few crosses like that. So there was another one to Lingard where Lingard I don't know if he gambled as much as he should have, and then Lukaku had a couple that got taken off his foot. There was one that he put on Lukaku, and the keeper just made a great save right on the line. So. On another day he might have had 3 assists, so who knows? But who's the best? Have we even had a good crosser at right back since?
Probably not.
Raphael, was he good? I don't remember if he was good at crossing. He was okay, right?
Raphael was a decent sort of attacking right back. I wouldn't say he was perhaps. He had a good cross on him, but I'd say he was better at just getting forwards more than anything, thinking about it really. And getting back, and he sort of had that fight in him that meant that you really got behind him. As far as technical ability, probably Lyon is the right place for him now, thinking about it, really.
I think if he hadn't gotten injured, it's the injuries really hurt him, right? Because there was that Ferguson's last season, he was amazing. I thought he was by far the best right back in the league that year.
Oh yeah.
But our build up, he was really good with like the build up play, right? Because he linked really well with Valencia. I remember those two had a really good relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for Dalot because hopefully this is the summer where we buy a proper right winger and they can form a good productive relationship.
Do you think Dalot is going to stay in the team now that he's sort of had these 2 decent games, or do you think once Valencia's fit or once Shaw's fit, Young will just slip into right back, or Valencia will go back into right back?
Isn't Valencia fit though?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I can't work that one out.
I think Valencia is fit, and I think that he's just in the doghouse right now. I don't know what it was. Just that Instagram thing, right? That he liked some post about Mourinho getting sacked or something like that. I don't remember what it was.
Valencia needs to be sort of worked out anyway, like transitioned out, but I can see him playing again before the end of the season.
Oh, I think Valencia will definitely play at some point in the season, but do I think I will say this: when Mourinho bought Varane at Madrid, he did play him. He did start him quite a bit, and he has talked up Dalot a lot, like a ton. When we bought him, he called him the best young right back in the world. He gave. Did you see his quote after the match where he said? He gave himself a little pat on the back for scouting Dalot, and he said something like, "Oh yeah, I got we're able to get Dalot because I know the Portuguese league, but we need scouts for it was basically a shot at our scouts and a little pat on the back for himself for finding Dalot, and because he knows the league so well. So I thought that it's kind of an asshole move, but it was also really funny, I thought.
Well, I can imagine him saying it's yeah.
But I just think he's just talked about himself. Even after against Arsenal, he was saying, he brought up, he was like, maybe Gary Neville will be happy because now we have a right back that can play here for the next 10 years. I think there's a chance he might stay in the squad. Maybe not stay in it right from the outset, but if Young has a bad run, or if I think Valencia might just be in the doghouse now. Because I'm pretty sure he's healthy and that he didn't feature at all. He's featured once since his injury, and that was when we had another injury crisis at fullback. So it's not like
he has been on the bench recently.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's been on the bench, so it's I think Dalot is ahead of him in the pecking order, and maybe I would guess that if Young comes back healthy tomorrow, Dalot would lose his place to him right now. But I don't know if that will be the case all season. I think there's a good chance that come February, March, Dalot is our starting right back.
I'm looking for him to play well and to have a good impact in the game and a good impact in the team. A team, some players that are not playing a lot. So I hope that people like Paul and a couple of others that are normally in the team and they have that that number of miles that players need to be at the top level. I hope that he can have a good impact in the team.
Mourinho has been talking Pogba up after previously allegedly calling him a virus. What do you make of that, to those comments as well? I mean, I'm sort of sick of hearing about it, to be honest, at this point.
Look, I have a lot of problems with Mourinho. I think he should be sacked. I think that it doesn't. We don't need to go into it. I think we all, more or less, except for Nick, are fine
Nick's
with
just
Mourinho being sacked.
He just doesn't. He wants Mourinho out. He just doesn't want to admit it yet.
But I have to say that I find nothing about how he dropped Pogba and only used him as a sub against Arsenal. I didn't find that. I think it actually would have been more disrespectful to keep him in the team because he didn't. That Southampton performance was pathetic. I don't know if you have. I don't know. I'm sure you guys don't have to listen to Lee Dixon and Arlo for your broadcast.
At 3:00 we do, because they can't be broadcast in the UK.
Oh, so you have to read it?
Yeah, so we have to attain our ability to watch football from other means.
But yeah, like during that match, the entire match, but at least for the entire first 45 minutes especially, Lee Dixon just wouldn't shut up. And at first it was annoying, but then you kind of watch it and you're like, yeah, he's right. But just about how Pogba was not doing anything and how he didn't want to be on the pitch and he was being he was horrible on the ball. But when the biggest thing was that when he lost the ball, he didn't even try to, make amends for it. It was a bad performance, and it was. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of times where I think Mourinho is wrong, but to me, there was nothing about that. Was not a tactical thing. That was just a Pogba decided he was not going to show up that day thing, and I had no problem with Mourinho saying whatever he said to him in the locker room. He did not make that public, and I have no problem with him sitting him against Arsenal and sitting him against Fulham entirely. And I also think that what he said is the right way to kind of hopefully get Pogba back into the squad, because he's right. If Pogba plays with that type of energy, like if he is pressing, if he can be such a dominating player, it's just these periods where he just kind of totally falls apart or doesn't care and doesn't try that make him such a frustrating enigma.
Yeah. I mean, it's a difficult one because I don't think he should be sort of calling out a player using those words specifically in front of the rest of the team. But then I suppose in the past, Fergie was famous or infamous for his hairdryer treatment.
My issue though is because this always focuses on Mourinho's relationship with Pogba and how he treats Pogba, and it's like this is how I recall everything, right? For the first year and a half, so basically until that Tottenham match last year at Wembley, anytime he was asked anything about Pogba or anytime anybody criticized Pogba, Jose Mourinho was his biggest cheerleader. He was his biggest supporter. He picked fights with United legends like Scholes and Neville and anybody who dared criticize him. He even said Scholes was jealous because Pogba made more money than he had ever made, and he got criticized for that even at times on the CAF. I remember people saying that he was being disrespectful, but he was supporting his player. And so this was like how their relationship worked for the first year and a half. And even when he pulled him against Tottenham, he didn't say anything publicly about it. He didn't actually he didn't say much of anything after that match about why he did it. He just did it. And it turned into a controversy as if why should he not pull Pogba in a match he was playing poorly? I never understood the idea that he did it to make him a scapegoat, because he had never done it to that point before. So why would he just arbitrarily now have this agenda against Pogba during one of the big matches of the season? That made no sense to me. And even if you look through the rest of the year, he never said anything about Pogba publicly, really. He held him out of a few matches, for sure, but then he also put him back in the side fairly quickly. So it's obvious to me he was trying to elicit a response from Pogba. Not that he even said today, like in this week, he said, he basically said Pogba has a talent to be one of the best players in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That he is not. We can say that he's not doing the best of getting that out of Pogba, and I won't necessarily disagree with that. But this idea that he's been this horrible, mean bully to Pogba the entire time that's just absolutely absurd to me. And I think Pogba, from a lot of United supporters, has gotten a way too long of a leash.
Yeah.
In terms of just his mentality. I don't mind his look. You don't have to play great in every match. Nobody can play great in every match, right? It's impossible. But your mentality should be there every match. And for him to come out after the second match of the season and say that, he basically acknowledged that his mentality wasn't there that day and he didn't try. And it's like,
yeah.
And then you see it happen again. It's just that's not enough. That's bad. That's poor.
I think earlier in the season, it was either Scholes or Neville saying, the baseline at Manchester United should be putting a shift in and really working. So I sort of see where you're coming from there with regards to Pogba. I mean, I don't think we'd miss him if he went at this point.
I think we might. This is how I've always felt about Pogba, is that his highest level is a level above anybody else at the club. In terms of outfield players.
Yeah.
His highest level is the level that it can win you titles. But can he produce that form? Can he be the best player on a team that needs him to be the best player consistently over the course of a full season? Or is he a player that can do it 10, 15 times a season, but cannot be the best player in your side? And the more we see of him, the more I wonder if it's just the latter. And that's not a bad thing. That's not...
No.
You can still be a great player, but are you this world-class central midfielder that is by far the most expensive midfield signing in the history of football? Probably not. You're probably not worth that. And it is what it is. We paid the fee. The fee is gone. It doesn't matter. But I don't think he's delivered on that, regardless of how poor Mourinho has been as a manager.
I think therein lies the crux of the issue, though. When you've paid this amount of forget about the money. When you've bought this player and the idea is possibly to build your team around him, but he only turns up for 15, 16 games, league games in a season, you're never going to win a title because they aren't. The team is built to make this guy perform, and he doesn't perform every time. And when you don't have the quality elsewhere to make up for those performances, that's where you have the problem.
Right, and I'm so sick of talking about what is his best position. Oh, Mourinho's using him in double pivots, that's why he's not good. Okay, well, he played in a double pivot for France and they won the World Cup. Oh, he's playing. He has to play on the left side of a 3. Then we play him on the left side of a 3, and he doesn't do anything for 2 games. He has to play behind the striker. He has to play through. If you're a fucking central midfielder, you have to play in a variety of roles. That's the reality of that position. You don't get to just play in one position, right? That's what made. That's why I think Carrick was such a great player. Is he could play in every single central midfield. Maybe not. You couldn't play as a 10. Okay, fine, but you could play him in a pivot. You could play him in a 3. You could play him as the deepest. You could play him in a more attacking role. You could play him as a box-to-box in his younger days. Like, you could play all of those positions at a time. With Pogba, I still to this day don't know what his best position is. I have no clue, because sometimes he plays in a double pivot and looks fantastic. Like, he can really control the match from deep against Newcastle, right? He apparently went to Mourinho and told him to play him deeper in the second half, and he did, and he was amazing. Like, he brought us back into that match. He was a monster in that match. But then he doesn't want to play in that position because apparently that's not his position. So we play him in a left side of a 3, and then sometimes he's great in that position, sometimes he's awful. And then okay, fine, you can be awful, but then if you're awful, you have to still do the work, but you're not doing the work. So then where am I supposed? Like, there are some positions where you can get away with a player not doing the work, not doing the ugly part of the game, right? Like a striker, maybe a winger. You can get away with that. In central midfield, in this league, you cannot get away with that. You can't have somebody that's just going to. If you can't depend on him, if you can't depend on this is the baseline I'm going to get from him, then it's very hard to know what to do with him and how. And like you said, to your point, how can you build around such a player? And like, I think this goes back to, or not. This doesn't go back to, but rather this is why I think every manager we've had, Moyes, Van Gaal, and Mourinho since Ferguson, have always ultimately played Fellaini in many big matches, because whatever you say about him, you know that at the very minimum you're going to get a shift. He's going to put in a shift. He's going to track back. He's going to put in challenges. He will play to there's a baseline of performance that you can expect with him.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not sexy. It's not going to win you. It's definitely not going to win you a league.
No.
11 Fellaini is not going to win you a league. But, 11 Fellaini's over 38 matches versus 11 Pogba's over 38 matches, given the fluctuation of performance, I don't know. I always wonder about stuff like that. It's if I could give Fellaini's attitude to Pogba, then we would be talking about, I think, clearly the best player in the league.
That's a strong statement. I can see where you're coming from.
Just the mentality, I don't see that mentality from Pogba enough, where it's like,
no,
you have to graft at times. You have to.
Well, that's it. You can sort of see it in him when it's not going his way. It's a bit cold or something. He's had to take his gloves off, and he just sort of he's sick of it. Wants to go home, put his feet up. I can totally see where you're coming from, and perhaps being a bit unfair.
He's just a frustrating player because he is so talented. He is so talented, and then and it's like, and sometimes it's he can be having a great match, but then he gets into this thing. I think he does this where where he's having a really good match and he's kind of feeling, like he knows he's having a good match and he's in a good rhythm. He tries to do something too extravagant in the wrong area of the pitch, right? That's what happened against Wolves. Like, I thought he was playing a really good match, and then he tried to take somebody on. I think he tried to take Neves on in the middle of the pitch. Maybe it was Moutinho. I don't remember. Lost the ball, and then they score a goal from that. And then he kind of doesn't start running back right off the bat, and then he starts running. And it's like, you can forgive the mistake if you are trying to make amends from it. But it's like, he does so much of making stupid mistakes and then not doing anything to try and make up for it. That is that's the unforgivable.
That and gesticulating at the referee when he's not got a free kick and play goes on. Sort of leaving everyone else to defend while he's slowly trotting back. Anyway, that's enough on Pogba, I reckon.
we could talk about Pogba.
We could spend the next 10 episodes talking about Pogba, and we'd still not exhaust the conversation. So we were hoping to bring you a update regarding the United Women this week, but unfortunately, our resident sort of United Women fanboy couldn't be with us tonight. But we while doing the preparation, we did notice that. Unfortunately, they've lost, so that's the first loss in their unbeaten run. They're still, I think, first in the Women's Championship, so still well on for the promotion. But unfortunately, a first defeat for United Women there.
Hopefully, we bounce back.
Yeah. Hopefully, I imagine we will. Well, I think that the United Women team is far better than what's in the league at the moment.
Now Di Maria, Mata wants it back, gets it back! Fantastic! Absolutely fantastic! Giggs takes it. Oh, goodness me! Rio Ferdinand rises to the occasion. Martial is isolated. Skirtle here. Oh, yes!
That brings us on to the Liverpool game. What do we reckon?
I reckon that we will lose. That's what I reckon. I would love nothing more than to be wrong, but I think they've conceded 6 goals in the league the entire season. They have a plus 28 goal difference. They've scored 34. United have scored 28 and given up 26. But we are in the positive now. We are in the positive.
Well, let's look to the positive then. We'll get that offside goal that we usually get against Liverpool, and we will, the cop will be spitting feathers. They'll be screaming bloody murder, and we'll march away with the 3 points.
And Klopp will spend the next 6 months complaining about the offside goal anytime they have a bad result.
Yeah.
It's hard to see us getting. I would even to get a draw, I would be surprised, but. More than that, I just want us to go there and
try.
Yes, I don't want to see the type of match we played there the last 2 years, where it's just go there and there's no ambition, there's no.
Yeah.
I don't mind playing on the counter is one thing, but you have to actually counter. You can't. You have to counter. You can't just sit
I
there.
do think in recent years our record against Liverpool has been quite good, though. I can't remember exactly what the stats are. Perhaps the guys maybe want to post in a thread or, tell me I'm wrong.
Well, under Mourinho, we haven't lost to them, right?
Right.
I think it's 3 draws and
And I
one.
think Van Gaal beat them a few times.
Van Gaal never lost to them in the
Yeah.
league.
Yeah.
But we had Wanfield. Then we had in the first year we had Wanfield, and then we had the that 3-0 against them at home where De Gea stood on his head, and we just were clinical in front of goal.
Why do we sack him?
And then the second year we beat them 3-1, Martial's debut, and then we beat them 1-0 at Anfield in a match where we just totally did not deserve to win at all, which is the best match to win, obviously.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's either that or dominating them completely.
I'm looking forward to see how. I hope Rashford. I'm assuming he's going to keep his position. I'm excited to see how he does.
Do you think Dalot will play?
I don't. He did get rest. Apparently, he's not even in the squad for the midweek match, so that would kind of indicate that.
Yeah.
He might be getting a good. He doesn't want to risk him.
Yeah.
Because he's planning on playing him at the weekend. I think Shaw also is being held out, and I think he should be good by now.
Yeah.
So if those, it would be. I do think that we'll end up playing a 3 at the back in this match. I think that's what how Mourinho will end up approaching this. That's my guess anyway.
Right. So I'm gonna say 2-0 United.
2-0 United. Wow. So we're gonna keep a clean sheet.
Yeah.
And we're gonna score twice against the best defense in the league. I like it.
Bear in mind that every time I've predicted a United win, we've lost. So
yeah, I'm gonna go 2-1 Liverpool, as much as it pains me to say. But I don't know. Hopefully I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Christ.
But either way, the tears of Liverpool fans are bittersweet.
There's no bitterness. It's just sweetness.
Well, yeah, okay. Yeah, because they're the most unbearable twats going. Right, well, I guess, shall we say good night?
Yeah.
Good night from me.
And good night from me.